Good morning to anyone who's there. We are going to get rolling. Hey, Nugget. How you doing? Hey, Joey. How's everyone doing today? Yes, your fist again. I'm doing well. I gave myself a haircut yesterday. Thoughts? So, I also wanted to show everyone this. I'm drinking from a Harry Potter mug today.
It's mine.
It's my wife's, but I like to steal it. It's like a Hogwarts map on there. The Marauders map, excuse me. Isabella's booing that? I don't know. Thank you for the compliments on my hair. Hey, Zoey. I don't know if you missed it, but I gave myself a haircut yesterday. Actually, what I did is I left the top. So the top's still long, but I just buzzed up the sides and back. So anyway, it's hopefully the next time I need a haircut, I'll be able to go to a barber. Okay, so I have some exciting news. We officially have a student teacher right now. And tomorrow, it's not her. Her name is Ms. Como. And tomorrow she is going to be joining me on the live stream. So you all will get to meet her. I had a really nice conversation with her yesterday. She's going to be fantastic. I hope she gets the opportunity to meet and teach you in person. But if not, then she will meet and teach you virtually like I've been trying to do. So I think that is, so that's a great thing. So tomorrow at this time, she'll be on with us. Hey, Madison, welcome to the party. I'm glad you four are here. Question, anyone have any ideas on how we could get more people here? Because you four are here pretty much every day. And we've gotten like drop-ins from Shayla and Savannah and I think Kaylee and a few others. I'm wondering how we could get more of our class here. If you have any ideas, let me know. Chainmail. You can tell Mary. Yeah. What are V-Bucks? Yeah, I'll post it in Google Classroom, and maybe if you're talking to anyone, encourage them to join. It would, because I really look forward to getting to communicate back and forth with you every day, but I also miss everyone else. So yeah. Those of you who sent me video clips for Abby, thank you. I'm going to get those all put together and sent on to her. I'm also, so next week we'll be starting a new book. And I have some other ideas too. I'm hoping to be able to get into our classroom sometime soon because I need my Chromebook power cord to charge it. And if I do that, I can start like live streaming from other parts of my house too, and maybe outside some days or something like that. But right now my Chromebook's dead. So, okay, I'm going to put my glasses on. By the way, what do you think of the reading glasses? I'm supposed to wear them more often, like when I read, but I never remember to bring them to school. But I'm an old man, and my eyesight's getting worse, so I should probably use them. Sometimes it seems like you all are talking a different language with V-Bucks and XD and Rue and Flamingo. I have no idea what that's about. My dog Asha's joined us. She likes to be on camera, I think. Yesterday my daughter had dance classes in our basement on Zoom, right? Like video dance classes, and my dog Asha went downstairs to watch those too. So I do think she likes being on camera. All right, so today I'm going to read the author's note, and then we'll go from there, and we'll see what else we can figure out for today. So, author's note. Oh, Madison does dance classes on Zoom too. Where's your dance school, Madison? Show dog. Oh my goodness, it's invisible ink.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Yes, Caitlin. Zoey is, and Madison and Joey. Shine Dance Company. Okay, my daughter dances at Long Island Academy of Dance in Miller Place. All right, author's note. I can still see my grandmother crocheting blankets in zigzag rows. She made one for each of her 7 children, many of her 23 grandchildren. I'm the eldest of the grandchildren. And for the great-grandchildren she lived to see. My grandmother, Esperanza Ortega, was the inspiration for this book. Anyone here crochet or know how to crochet or have a grandma who crochets? My grandma knits, and she's made blankets and stuff like that before too. She actually made my daughter a blanket dress. Like it's a blanket, but you can wear it like a vest or a dress. Isabella, where's your blanket dress from grandma? Never mind, we can't find it. When I was a young girl, grandma used to tell me what her life was like when she first came to the United States from Mexico. I'd heard stories about the company farm camp where she lived and worked, and the lifelong friends she made there. When she talked about those people and how they had helped her through desperate, trying times, she sometimes cried at the memories. It wasn't until I had children of my own that my grandmother told me about her life in Mexico, about a fairy tale existence with servants, wealth, and grandeur, which had preceded her life in the company farm camp. I wrote down some of her recollections from her childhood, how I wish I had written down more before she died because I could never stop wondering about her transition from Mexico to California and what it must have been like. Eventually, I started to imagine a story based on the girl who might have been her. Your Slytherin dog. Thanks for all those emojis, Joey. This fictional story parallels her life in some ways. She was born and raised in Aguascalientes, Mexico. Her father was Sixto Ortega and her mother Ramona. They lived on El Rancho de la Trinidad, which I changed to El Rancho de las Rosas, and her uncles did hold prominent positions in the community. A series of circumstances, including her father's death, eventually forced my grandmother to immigrate to the United States to a company owned farm labor camp in Arvin, California. Unlike Esperanza in the story, my grandmother had already married my grandfather, Jesus Munoz, when she immigrated to California. Like Miguel, he had been her father's mechanic. In the segregated Mexican camp with my father, she lived much like the characters in the story. She washed her clothes in communal tubs, went to Jamaicas on Saturday nights, and cared for her three daughters. That's where my mother, Esperanza Munoz, was born. During the early 1930s, there were many strikes in the California agricultural fields. Often growers evicted the strikers from their labor camps, forcing many to live together in makeshift refugee camps, sometimes on farms on the outskirts of towns. The growers were powerful and could sometimes influence local governments. In Kern County, sheriffs arrested picketers for obstructing traffic, even though the roads were deserted. In Kings County, one Mexican man was arrested for speaking to a crowd in Spanish. Sometimes the strikes failed, especially in areas that were flooded with people from states like Oklahoma, who were desperate for work at any wage. In other instances, the strong voices of many people changed some of the pitiful conditions. The Mexican repatriation was very real and an often overlooked part of our history. In March of 1929, the federal government passed the Deportation Act that gave counties the power to send great numbers of Mexicans back to Mexico. Government officials thought this would solve the unemployment associated with the Great Depression. It didn't. County officials in Los Angeles, California organized deportation trains, and the Immigration Bureau made sweeps in the San Fernando Valley and Los Angeles, arresting anyone who looked Mexican, regardless of whether or not they were citizens or in the United States legally. Many of those sent to Mexico were native-born United States citizens and had never been to Mexico. The numbers of Mexicans deported during this so-called voluntary repatriation was greater than the Native American removals of the 19th century and greater than the Japanese American relocations during World War II. It was the largest involuntary migration in the United States up to that time. Between 1929 and 1935, at least 450,000 Mexicans and Mexican Americans were sent back to Mexico. Some historians think the numbers were closer to 1 million. How are we doing over here? OMG, you glitched my screen, bruh. Okay. Mwahahaha. Hey, Ava's here. Hey, Ava. What is this UWU thing that I have been seeing all of a sudden? Can someone explain that to me? What? Yes, but what does it mean? A happy anime face thing? All right. Uwu? Where does it come from? Do you know anything about Uwu?
I have an owl toy
You have an owl toy?
that can really fly.
Yeah. She has an owl toy that can really fly. Okay, it's pronounced Uwu, but like, where does it come from? What does it mean? Why do people say it?
Can you show your classic?
Yeah, I can show. Okay, thanks. That's not much of an explanation, friends. That's her owl toy that can fly,
It's not on right now.
but it's not on right now. Maybe one day we'll live stream it flying. All right. It's happy and it stands for some cute happy thing. All right, ooh. It's not a visco thing, is it? Happy, joyful, blissful. Thanks, Zoe. Okay, I'm going to finish this. It's funny how you all even get me. It's funny how you all even get me off track, even on a live stream. Where were we? Yes. Even though my grandmother lived in this country for over 50 years, I can still remember her breaking out in nervous perspiration and trembling as her passport was checked at the border when we returned to the United States from a shopping trip in Tijuana. She always carried the fear that she could be sent back on a whim, even though repatriation had long been over. My father, Don Bell, came to California during the Dust Bowl from the Midwest and, ironically, worked for the same company farm where my mother was born. By that time, my grandmother had moved her family to a small house in Bakersfield at 1030 P Street. Mom and Dad weren't destined to meet quite yet. Dad was 12 years old when he picked potatoes during World War II with the diaper crew. Children paid to pick the fields because of the great shortage of workers due to the war. He says the children weren't always the most diligent employees and admits that he more often threw dirt clods at his friends than he picked potatoes. Later, when he was 16, he spent a summer working for the same farm, driving trucks back and forth from the fields and delivering workers. Much of our nation's produce comes from this one area in California. It is hot in the summer and cold in the winter. There are dust storms and tool fog, and some people do contract valley fever. Before I got married, I took the required blood test in San Diego, where I had lived during my college years. The doctor called because of an urgent finding on my lab results. I worried that something dramatic had been found until the doctor said, "You tested positive for valley fever." I let out a sigh of relief. I grew up seeing lugs of grapes on kitchen tables. I picked plums, peaches, apricots, nectarines, persimmons, almonds, walnuts, and pecans from backyard trees. Every year in August, I saw the grapes laid down on the ground to make raisins, the same way they've been made for generations. Lemons, tomatoes, or squash appeared on the doorstep from neighbors or my grandmother's gardens. I'd never been conscious of having any symptoms of valley fever. The only fever I recollected was my burning affection for my beginnings and belongings. Of course I tested positive, I said to the doctor. I grew up in the San Joaquin Valley. I knew that I had been naturally immunized to the actual disease by merely living there from the air I had breathed growing up. My family's feelings for the company camp are deep-rooted and still filled with loyalty for their start in this country and for the jobs they had at a time when so many had none. Most of the people I interviewed, who lived in the same group with my grandmother, held no grudges against the Oklahomans or others who competed for their jobs at that time. One man I interviewed said, "We were also poor. The Okies, the Filipinos, they were poor too. We all knew the feeling of wanting to work and feed our families. That is why it was so hard for many of us to strike." When I asked about prejudice, I was told, sure, there was prejudice, horrible prejudice, but that's how things were then. Many struggled just to put food on the table and sometimes seemed to be resigned to the social issues of the time. They focused only on survival and put their hopes and dreams in their children's and grandchildren's futures. That's what Grandma did. She survived. All of her children learned English, and so did she. Some of her children went to college. One became a professional athlete. Another, a member of the United States Foreign Service. Others became secretaries, a writer, an accountant, and her grandchildren, newscasters, social workers, florists, teachers, film editors, lawyers, small business owners, and another writer, me. Our accomplishments were her accomplishments. She wished the best for all of us and rarely looked back on the difficulties of her own life. It is no wonder that in Spanish, Esperanza means hope. And that's the end. All right, enough with the uwu. Okay. Yeah. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw so many messages. I thought it was something important. And then I just saw lots of uwus. Thank you for the meaning there, Zoe. Okay, so tomorrow I want to tomorrow you'll be meeting our student teacher, and we'll see what else we have going on. We're going to be doing some stuff that relates to this book over the next week or two, in relation to migrant farm workers, and studying some people whose support of them and advocacy for them, and activism for them help them rise to prominence in our country's history. So that will be doing some work around over the next week or two. I have I know tomorrow's the end of the 2 weeks, so I think after tomorrow you should have the that packet I sent you home with finished. There is another packet for the next few weeks, but I have a meeting today where I should find out more information. My preference would be to do other work with you and not just the packet. But I'm going to get some clarification on what it is exactly we're going to be doing. So it seems like all of a sudden the chat's not working. It says unable to connect to chat. Please try later. So I'm not going to be able to see any more messages from people. So I'm going to sign off for now. If you need to connect with me, do it in Google Classroom. Please contact some of our classmates and let them know, one, they can communicate with us in Google Classroom. Two, that there are some, we want to know about Spirit Week. Three, that I'd like more people to try and join us for the read alouds each day. Four, I'd like them to know that the extra help's available, particularly with math concepts if necessary. And five, tell them about the Kahoot. A reminder that if you're participating and playing the Kahoot, it is linked to in Google Classroom, and you have until tomorrow at 10:59 a.m. To complete it, and then I can announce tomorrow who won. Okay. All right. Well, it was nice seeing you for today. And I will speak with you tomorrow.